Hi everyone, welcome back to my studio, and I will film part 2. Actually, it's probably not part 2, it's maybe even part 3, because I worked a little bit on the bottle and I also worked a little bit on this silver picture, so I'll let you know what I did, and also this is a close-up of what I did. So I worked on this silver picture. It's not quite really silver, it's similar to silver, but really I use the same paints that you would use on silver. So it's mostly I was using dark purple and with some black, so it's ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, some black. In some places I was adding brown, and then I was lightening in the areas where there were reflections, and then I was adding reflected objects in there. But I try to keep it not very bright, because it's quite subtle, because I'm doing it in daylight, so it's not really very bright reflected objects, even though it's quite shiny object. So the same idea was with the bottle glass. Also, it's not as highly reflected object as the metal, but I used different shades of green and dark green and blue and yellow and orange. Then I put my highlights on the bottle in the areas where it's shining more, where the foam turns. And I'm going to show the palette for the picture and the bottle. That's how I started. So now I'm going to put my camera, and I will work a little more on the other items of my setup. So I probably will put light on and see if it's too much reflection or not. Oh, yeah, it's a little bit of glare, so I'll try to work a little bit in the darker area and see if it works or not. So I have quite a few items in my setup. So I have glass that it's almost done. I may adjust the drawing of the bottle, because sometimes when you look too much at the object you kind of don't see it quite clearly. So I probably will use one of those interesting checking tools. I either turn it upside down, my painting, and look at the shapes and drawing of both of these items, or I'll put mirror at the back. Also, I'll try to photograph it and see how my values. So this is just one of those few things that you can try to see if your drawing is right, if your values are right. So anyway, I will start working on grapes now, because as I said, fruit is one of those perishable items that goes pretty fast. But in my case, I kind of left it to the last moment. So first I will mass in the grapes as a kind of shape. So this time I'm using filbert. I chose this nice filbert. It's number 4 and it's Princeton, and it's actually I think it's bristle. No, it's synthetic. So anyway, I will mask grapes with this filbert, because it kind of reminds me of the shape of the grape. So I'm using black, I'm using alizarin crimson, and a little bit ultramarine. So with variation of those three, I'm blocking the darker shapes of my grapes, really going with silhouette of it rather than individual grapes, because I'm not going to paint every single grape. Then I have 2 grapes here. So first I'm blocking it with the dark color, and I'm sorry if you don't see all my painting, because my arm blocking it, because I'm right-handed, and the way I set up. So we're still working on my setup. I don't know when we'll fine-tune it, but one day. In the meantime, I'll just doing it as like this. Maybe I'll get camera later, but right now I'm filming with my phone. And I have more grapes, so normally if I use this color, I'll try to use it in where else in my painting. I have this. So the grapes are here getting really dark. Oh, sorry, dry. So I'll try not to turn them into raisins, so I have to do it. So 2 grapes almost overlap. Actually, I'll make them overlap in just kind of shape. Have to wipe it a little here. And I also do cast shadows for my grapes with black. Really the same almost color with dark. So I'll do it here as well. They will not be noticed in the white cloth that I'm going to paint as well. So I'll have to keep working on both kind of, because white cloth goes all around my grapes. So here where the shadows, I will kind of paint around it, so this way that whatever I got wrong in the shape of the grape will be corrected once I do the cloth around it. So one grape is a little further, so it will be even smaller than this. To tell the truth, they may not be even that noticeable at all. It's not really the main grapes, these just kind of make my composition flow. And then the grapes on the left side. So I have white material here that I'm going to use, and again I will adjust values and shades later. Right now I have a little, I need to put this little shadow here that comes from the grapes. So I will remind that I use orange and cobalt, orange and cobalt for my shade on material. Slightly warm because I have cool light from the window. So with cool light you get warm shadows, cast shadows from the object and on the objects as well. So and then it's going to be interesting because my material goes kind of like this here, and then I have background color. So I just do background color with one of the brushes that I already, and by the way I changed my background as well. So I decided to make it more blue tone. So I added a little bit of Prussian blue, then black and yellow ochre. Yeah, so I did those colors because I thought it will complement much better my oranges, tangerines, but orange color in them, and also I have some reflections in the bottle of orange, so normally green blue is complementary for orange yellows will work well, so I thought I would use this one, and I added a little bit of white where I needed lighter areas, so something like that. And I probably will adjust background once I finish other items, a little bit more dark in some areas and light in the others. And also in the areas where it's cooler I added more white, and where it's light I added more white and yellow ochre, and in the dark areas I added a little bit of even brown, transparent oxide brown, like this. So now I'm going to work on material at the bottom of my grapes here. So I'll use the same kind of shadow on it and the same from cast shadow of the grapes, because where they're hanging there's little cast shadow. And then I have brighter material here. And of course I will raise up the value of my material later, but at this point I'm not going too bright yet. And I'm using, as my blue and material, I'm using, I keep forgetting this color today, cobalt. I'm using cobalt for my shadows, cast shadows. So I need to correct my form of the grapes a little. So the material here, it folds down, and the same here. So I have to kind of show with the lighter value that material is in the light, and then it goes down. So I'm adding more white in my mixture. It's not 100% white, but, and then as it goes down it's still white, but it's slightly kind of cooler, darker value. While I have my white here, I want to do it here. Actually, I think I lost a little bit of background. I'm going to change my brush and do a little bit more background here. Just hope it's not too dark. And I will re-emphasize shadow again. Maybe make it a little deeper. I'm using some purple from left from my picture. So it's getting a little bit dark in the room, so I probably will have to put light on. Let's see if it's too much glare, sorry, but it probably will be more at the top of the painting where it's just wet paint. Yeah, so the grapes seems to be okay for now. So I'll start working on the grapes, going from left to right, so reinforcing silhouette again first. Really, all grapes don't need to be there, only the ones that we see, and then I'll do branches. So now I'm trying to mix a little bit of alizarin and red, alizarin crimson and cadmium red light. So that would be the kind of illusion of this transmitted light. And actually I'm going to probably add a little bit of even orange just to see if that does better, because I have this transmitted light and then I have a different value color here, like a more red. So I'm trying to look at each grape, see which one, not all of them the same, so some of them has more transmitted light, some less, some are not seen at all. Some of them brighter, so I want that brighter, I do brighter color. Then I'm going to change my brush to a smaller one, but for now this one should be okay. I really don't like bristle brushes because they scrape my paint, so I'm going to take my comber. It's so much softer and nicer. Tender fruit requires nice soft tender brushes, so this is my orange and this is my red. So I'm adding a little bit more red and alizarin and some black. And then I have also purple color. So I don't want to lose the shape of the grape completely. So some red and some orange, because they're both cadmiums, they give glow. And so at this point I'm going to introduce, I know I don't have this glow everywhere, but I introduce some cad yellow deep, but also cadmium, and also gives this kind of brighter look. And I only add it to the grapes where I see it. This means these are the grapes that hanging and the grapes that in the light. So this grape is the brightest one, but I keep losing. So obviously I need more paint. I need more cadmium yellow, light and red. So I could get that grape glow. And then once I add dusting, what the dusting does, because it's kind of mixture of blue and white, purple and white, it makes grapes glow more. With these particular grapes I really don't need to put much glow because we can hardly see them, so but I can see this one. Again, this one I have to put tabletop, so my tabletop is brown color, so I'll do for now transparent red oxide and yellow ochre. Plus there will be some leaves, so we'll have to see later how that's going to work with grapes, because some of them will be covered maybe by the leaves, but for now this will work. So continuing with my grapes on the table. They're really tiny, so I have to put some color back on them. So now I'm going into dusting. So I use some of the purple I already had, just very light. Some cobalt, some alizarin. So we'll see how. So it has to be a very soft brush. And the same dusting as on plums and lots of other different fruit. So on every one of them where I put dusting, if I move a little bit of my other color, I have to reinforce it back. So there's a little bit of dusting on this one, tiny bit of this. And again, like I said, they're all different grapes. Some of them have more dusting, some of them have no dusting seen. So I only paint what I see, so it's great, just a little different shape. As you can see, the dusting does help to emphasize that glowing part on the other side. So I don't want to overdo with this, because some of them even have reflection from this white material as well. And once the whole painting done, I'll go back and double check each of them, and not each, but I mean each group of grapes, and see where I really need to add more or where I need to add less. But it will work for now. So this one again, I lost some of it. And the last part of the puzzle with grapes is a highlight. So I could have put it earlier, but it really doesn't matter what is first, what is second. Some people like to put highlight first, just to see how it will look, so they would know that they have shape. I don't always put it first, so I'm going to use a small palette knife. So I'm going to use palette knife like this. It's very thin. So sometimes I use brushes for highlights, but with this one I found that I could use it very easy for small highlights, like I was using it on noses of cats and dogs. So I'll see how it works on grapes. Actually, I didn't try it on grapes yet. So this is a very subtle highlight. So this way we see that which grape is grape, not just a little blob. And I don't put highlight on each grape, just the ones that needed. I think that looks already okay. So that was not just purely white, it's slightly bluish white, because I have sky and it's a cool highlight from sky. And like I said, highlights on daylight objects, they're very subtle, they're not as strong as like when you have source of light that very strong, like concentrated, when I have lamp here. So that's why I just want to kind of make it a little blurry. Normally I don't try to do it with highlights, but in this particular case, that's how it looks. Looks a very subtle highlight. So now I'll see if some dusting on some grapes will need it. Actually, I'm going to try more blue in it. See if that gives me a variation of like a very cobalt and white. This blue dusting, because when I look at it I see really clearly that it has blue color in it. Yeah, that's what I was missing, blue color in my dusting. So I don't know how well it's in there, detail, especially that my, so you can see I added a dusting on the parts where I see, and because blue and orange complementary colors, so before this glow wasn't as how to say, intense. I'm not trying to make it very intense, but it wasn't as glowy. So now once I added blue, this orange really popped out and really shows glow. So that shows once again how complementary colors can complement and how you can use it in painting. So that's a really great tool for artists. I'm trying to use it when I can, with background, with grapes, oh sorry, with grapes, with even when I do pet portraits, with like, in this case with grapes, dusting and glow. So I'm adding a tiny bit more glow where I need. So I don't need much in the dark, that the one that we don't see. So I just, this is more like a reflected light from the material. And the other thing what I did, I painted grape color here, but really it should be a stem color. It's only like a little shadow here, a little shade from grapes. Trying to put more white in the places where needed. So this kind of shows how little blobs of dark color can turn into something meaningful, like grapes. Or at least it gives impression of the grape. So I just change that grape a little. I'm going to use some red here. So I think the grapes would work for now. I just probably need to double check if I didn't make them too small, because I had a feeling they started getting too small for this painting. Didn't measure them, but I kind of estimated. I'm still playing with this grape. So the one at the back is a little even blurry, and it's more like duller color. The ones at front have more definition, but again, grapes here is just to complement the rest of the painting. composition purpose. Okay, so now I'm going to mix a stem. So I have some ultramarine blue and some brown, some yellow ochre and some white. So I think that would work for my stem. So the darker color is ultramarine blue and brown. So I'm going to first I'm putting these stems for these two little grapes. I don't have to put every single branch, just an indication of stem. So I can see like it's not just one stem, it's kind of entangled there. So now I will try to do the lightest part of it. Probably will wipe the background stem and just leave this one, otherwise it gets confusing. Yeah, it will look better like this, so I have to use more brown. You can see it has more brown in it. Now I can use my lighter value. It should work for now. And then I'll see if I need to adjust anything. So I think grapes are done for now, and I'm going to slowly start moving to my white fabric. So I'll just reinforce one more grape here. And like I said, the shadow that I'm using, orange and cobalt, sometimes can be also a little purple because there is a reflection on white material from grapes, and other way around there is white material going into grapes. So that's why I kind of keep it open. There is lots of interactions between material, background, objects. Main thing for me not to lose this shadow. So I'm going to use some black and ultramarine to reinforce it, because my alizarin finished. I have to put more paints on my palette. But for this exercise, for this part of this still life that I'm doing right now, I think that's going to be it, because I don't want to keep videos too long. and because this still life has too many objects in it, so it's probably logical to show just some of them, how to paint in small pots. So I'll turn the light off so to avoid glare. So as you can see, painting grapes with highlights, dusting, shadows, reflected light in them on the white or on the other surface on the tabletop, pretty the same. So you're painting the darkest part, then you put mid value, then you do reflected light and highlight, and then you kind of draw around them. And the main thing, the same as with glass, with grapes, with metal, just look for what colors you see, what how dark they are, how cool or warm they are, and just squint. Like with this picture, I was squinting a lot, and now I keep squinting, and it is so, these are all grays and purples in there, they're much darker when I squint. So, and the whole area here is just light, and then there are tiny highlights on handles and neck, and the biggest highlight is here, the same on the bottle. If I squint, it's dark, but then there is lots of reflection in it, because it's glass transparent, so reflection has to go there to indicate that it's transparent object. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this short video that I'm trying to keep short, and I'm going to potentially bring my video before I turn it off to show my palette again, to show the close-up. Just 1 second. I'll try not to shake it too much. So here is my grapes. When you see close-up of the grapes, that's how they look. So this one probably shows better. So this is the grapes picture in the bottle, and this is my palette. This is a brush I used and palette knife. These are the colors. And here is a glance at my setup again. So you can see grapes getting drier and drier, but bottle and picture still there, and tangerines are holding. So I just hope to keep working on it, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.